Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Storytime Society. I'm your host Jamie and I'm so happy you're here. I'm so glad you're alive. Thanks for tuning in to this episode. The theme of this episode is none other than relationship drama. I'm really sorry, but this is like such a heavy topic on Reddit. Like, so many stories of relationship drama are on Reddit, so sometimes that's just like how it has to go. I try to switch it up sometimes, but also someone the other day commented and said that I hand pick out all the stories that make men look bad and leave the ones that make women look bad. But let me tell you guys that 90% of the content on Reddit makes men look bad. Okay? Trust me when I tell you I don't hand pick it out just to enforce my narrative of men sucking. Like, I promise you. So anyways, now that is aside, let's get into it. The title of the first story is, My wife had her wild phase before me, and now that I'm finally thriving, I feel like I missed out. Am I wrong for feeling this way? I've been married to my wife for 5 years, together for 8, and we have 2 beautiful children. She's been my first everything, my first girlfriend, my first real relationship, my first in every sense. I didn't really date in high school or college because, honestly, I didn't take care of myself. I lacked confidence and didn't feel attractive. So I stayed focused on other things. My wife, on the other hand, had a more typical college experience. She had a few relationships and had her phase as she was extremely attractive. She even did stuff with 2 guys at the same time. She was upfront about it when we started dating, and it never bothered me, although I tried not to think about it too much. Now, here's the thing. Over the years, she's become quite reserved when it comes to intimacy. She says she had her wild side during college, and now she's done with that phase. She prefers a more traditional approach to intimacy. She says she's tried everything she wanted to and knows what she enjoys and she doesn't enjoy it in the bedroom. And she wants to build intimacy on love and not wild lust. And I completely respect that. I'm not trying to do something which doesn't excite her in the bedroom. But lately, I've changed. I'm in the best shape of my life, physically, mentally, emotionally. Even my family and friends are kind of shocked with how I look now. My wife loves the new me and says she finds me more attractive than ever. But to be blunt, I don't care that my wife finds me attractive because I know I look good now. And it's not like her finding me more attractive will change anything in the bedroom department. My hormones right now are all over the place, and I can't help but feel like I missed my chance to experience that same fun side of life. I never had the exploration, the experimentation, the freedom, and now that I finally feel great about myself, that door seems closed. I brought it up with my sister because we're close, and she was surprisingly blunt. She said it's unfair that my wife got to have those experiences and now expects me to settle for less than what she once enjoyed. That hit me harder than I expected. But my sister also loves me to death and said some crazy stuff like I deserve to have an experience with at least one other woman in my life, or else I'll keep resenting my wife. I love my wife and I don't want to hurt her. I'm not thinking of cheating or anything like that, but I do feel stuck between respecting her boundaries and acknowledging my own desires that never had a chance to exist. Am I wrong for feeling this way? Has anyone else been in this situation, and how did you cope? Well, I think it's normal if you don't go through like a wild phase and then a lot of people end up regretting that when they get older. So I understand where he's coming from in that sense. But I must say that I think you having like a healthy you have like a healthy relationship, and I feel like there is some compromise that could be going on. Like I do think that there's some compromise. Maybe they could go to like a sex therapist or something and they could figure out like how they could meet in the middle on these things and how they could both get their desires through their intimate relationship, because obviously we know that like an intimate relationship is really important in a relationship, and it's not the most important thing, but it is really important. And also both partners deserve to feel comfortable and like okay with how their intimate life is in their relationship. Like if one person really doesn't like have a high libido and one person has a really high libido in that relationship, I do think that it can work, but I think that there is some compromise that needs to be done because, like, say the high libido person wants to literally have sex every single day, like 7 days a week, and the low libido person is like, I mean, I could have sex twice a month and be okay, but like I'll meet you in the middle and do like once or twice a week. If I don't know how to explain it. I don't even know what I'm saying, but you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's really important to compromise, but also both feel comfortable, because if one person feels like they're pushing too hard, that's going to end in resentment. And if the other person feels like they're not getting enough, that's going to end in resentment as well. And that's like obviously not something that you want in a relationship. You want to avoid resentment as much as possible. I do think that he's kind of romanticizing like sleeping with other women or getting other experiences. And I don't think that your sister is giving you that great of experience. Like, I don't think that it's unfair that his wife got to experience those things. I think that's just how their lives played out. Like, it's not her fault that you didn't experience those things. So I don't really understand that part. Like, I don't really get the sister's part. But I do think that, I don't know, I'm actually just thinking that he's just, like I said, he's romanticizing it. And it's just like, it's really not what you think it's going to be. But I understand that curiosity. And I feel like I don't know what to offer for you to get rid of that curiosity. Because I don't think that it's like actually going out and sleeping with other people. And especially if that's not something that your wife would like, which I'm sure she probably isn't going to want. Someone said, the grass is never greener on the other side. It's just different grass. From someone who's in the kink world, get really, really clear on what it is you actually want. Every fantasy sounds great in your imagination or in corn, but whatever it is you want to explore, it will not be the same when played out with your wife or any other woman, if you break up or whatever. It is a tale as old as time for a married person to have tons of ideas of what leaving their domesticated problems will be like. They think they will be swimming in vagina or men will be lining up for them, and reality is it's very, very different. They are often disappointed and wish that they could have their marriage and family back. It would be better to talk to your wife likely in therapy that you feel like you need to spice things up. You won't get anywhere just being mad at her. So real. And that's also, I agree. There's an update 11 hours later. My wife had her wild phase before me and, okay. Hey everyone, I posted this last night and went to bed. I woke up a couple of hours ago, read through a lot of the replies, and thank you all for the honesty. I decided to have a conversation with my wife this morning. My wife and I are usually very honest with each other. I was upfront with her about how I've been feeling, specifically that I haven't been feeling very desired lately. She was surprised at first, and even a little bit shocked, because we're usually pretty lovey-dovey with each other. At first, she thought that I was joking, but I told her that I was serious. She reassured me that she loves me more than she can ever put into words, and that she finds me incredibly attractive. I asked her why I have to initiate intimacy most of the time, and that seemed to hit her. She got quiet and then told me she would make an effort to initiate more often, and even kissed me to show me she meant it. She wanted to do it there, but I rejected her and told her I wasn't done. I told her that initiating more was a start, but what I really wanted was way, 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 way more than that. I opened up about how she's had the chance to explore her fantasies and experiment in her past, while I never had that chance. I told her about the attention I've been getting from other women recently, likely, for example, 3 women at the library I go to regularly who've been very upfront with me, and how I've turned all of them down, but that it still made me think. I told her I don't feel desired at all at home, and in fact, I feel more desired at the library or even at work when I talk to women. Then I told her directly, I want to seriously spice up our bedroom life. I'm not talking about all just small things. I told her I'm in the best shape of my life, and right now, I want to feel that kind of wild lust that I never got to experience. Not in a reckless way, I just want that passion and fire, at least for the next few years while I feel this good in my skin. To my surprise, my wife was very receptive to what I said. We sat down and talked more openly than we have in a long time. I told her some of the fantasies in my head that I would like to explore, and she actually listened and took me more seriously. But then something happened that I wasn't expecting. She broke down into tears. She asked if I still found her attractive. That hurt to hear because of course I do. I hugged her, comforted her, and told her I still find her as beautiful as ever. Yes, she's gone through some body changes since giving birth, but that doesn't change how I feel about her at all. So yeah, that's probably my final update. We still have a lot to talk about, but for the first time in a while, I feel heard and hopeful. Thank you all again for your input. It really gave me the push I needed to be honest with myself and my wife. Interesting. I hope that the wife is not just like pushing herself into doing this with him and that they're both going to feel comfortable with what they're doing, because it sounded like in the first post that he put, like she wasn't open to doing that kind of stuff. And then now she's all of a sudden like super open to it. I feel like there could be like a little meet in the middle rather than her just being like, sure, here you go, let's do this. I don't know. Some people said, I have a feeling this is definitely not over. And then someone said, quote, hey guys, talked to my wife about it and it went great. She broke down into tears and asked if I still found her attractive. I think that's a great sign. I'm about to have so much hot sex. And then someone said he'll be back posting about how he was blindsided by the divorce after things got spicier. For example, he convinced her she needed to do things that she didn't want to do to keep him happy, and she finally left. Remind me in 6 months. That's what I'm thinking as well. Like, I don't think that you should be convincing her to do things that she doesn't want to do. She should be able to do things that she's comfortable with I think I'm just reiterating what I already said, but that's how I feel.
If you want extra content weekly, head over to patreon.com/storytimesociety and become a member on there for extra content. Love you.
Someone said, I've watched a very similar scenario play out with a couple I know. They were each other's firsts, everything. 18 years and 2 kids later, he started getting itchy about everything he missed out on, and they decided to open the marriage. There was at least a year and a half of conversation leading to this point. She now has a local boyfriend, an out-of-town guy, and her husband. I'm not sure what his exact situation is, but from my vantage point, they seem to be living like roommates who occasionally sleep together. I think they're staying married mostly out of habit. That's why I've always, and this might be like controversial, but I've always felt like I only wanted to date people or like get involved with people that have had like experiences and were like kind of like similar to me. Like I want them to have had experiences in life, like not only just like just whatever, like not only just sexual, but especially, I don't know how to explain it. Just like doing fun stuff. And I'm not talking sexual. I'm talking, which I do think that it is for me specifically. Like I know everyone has a different needs and wants when they're finding partners. Some people want their partners to have zero experience at all. But for me personally, I've always wanted my partner, or I've only wanted to really get involved with people that have had experiences in life, whether that be sexual or just like doing fun stuff like with their friends, going out. And I'm not trying to say that everyone needs to have like a party phase, but like I do think that everyone needs to have life experiences, in my opinion. Okay? Because I know some of y'all be twisting my words sometimes, and I know everyone isn't the same, and I know people don't always agree, but that's how I feel about my specific dating life. I just think that not to say that's always going to avoid that feeling in the future. Like, you never know what's going to happen in a relationship. Really taking, like, getting in a relationship and getting married and stuff is really taking a leap of faith no matter what, but I do think that having experiences and going through your phases and your fun, wild phases in life really helps to avoid those types of situations like this one. And not everyone does want to do like fun phases or wild phases or anything like that. But like, I know that if I didn't have like a wild phase in my life, I would be wishing or feeling like I missed out, because sometimes I still even feel like, oh, did I miss out on this? Did I miss out on that? When in reality, like, I literally did so much in my late teens and early 20s. But now that I look back, I'm glad that I did. Someone said, bro, quote, I didn't get a chance. You were single and unmarried and you didn't take your chances, and now you're mad that she did. That's what I'm saying as well. Someone said, seriously, 50% of these relationships type posts boil down to the delusion that everybody is owed sexual excitement in some form or other. OP is owed wild lust and owed irresponsible single lifestyle, and anything short of that is unfair. Why won't everyone remember the rules and work on getting OP off already? It's the rules. Yeah, well, it enraged me because I go to the library all the time and I never get hit on. This person said, I had sex 4 times at the sexy library with all the sexy women. I work at the library and never get hit on. Are we really sure that he was getting hit on? Because I think having the librarians ask, you want to check something out, when he walks up to the desk isn't quite what he thinks it is. Okay, we're moving on to the next story. The title is, Will I be the asshole if I stop all of the favors I've been doing for my ex since he has refused the one favor that I asked? This is kind of sweaty, but my 30 female ex-husband, Greg, 38 male, and I have 2 kids, Louisa, 9, and Ted, 7. We divorced over 5 years ago and co-parent very well. The divorce was because I was happy with our 2 children, but he wanted more, and even therapy didn't help. We have had basically no issues. There's no child support because we're 50-50. We've never had issues having the kids if the other parent has something come up, and understand that it's just about making sure their lives aren't too disrupted. Greg remarried Tessie, 38 female, 4 years ago, and they have another child, a boy, and another about to make their appearance in this world in a few weeks. I'm marrying my fiance Luke, 36 male, in February. We've been together for about 3 years, and he's known my kids for 2. We moved in together last year. We have a group chat, but aren't overly friendly or anything. We only talk about the kids and keep it pretty lighthearted. Our only rules with the other datings is that we would introduce our partners to the other before they met the kids, which went great with both of them. When Tessie and Greg married, I obviously kept the kids an extra week for their honeymoon, and again for my actual week so they could settle in. They didn't live together before they got married. When they had their first baby, I kept our kiddos for about a month, but brought them over a few times to see their new brother obviously, so they could settle in since it was Tessie's first baby. A few weeks ago, at one of Lacey's games, Tessie told me the date her C-section was scheduled for, which is in the middle of their custody week. I told her we were excited for them, and of course I could keep them that week and my following week, and we could go back to normal their next custody period. She kind of hemmed and hawed and asked if we could keep them for another custody week to give them a month again to get used to things. I said that was fine. I didn't expect them to need that much time for their second baby, but C-sections are major surgeries, and I said I'd be happy to keep the kid. They don't live far from us, so bringing them over to hang out won't be too out of my way, and of course I love having my kids with me. Anywho, we finalized our plan for our honeymoon, which is 3 weeks. I know it seems excessive, but it's something on both of our bucket lists, but not something the kids would be too interested in, and the honeymoon seems like the best opportunity to do it. Basically, what would happen would be that we'd get married on Saturday, my week. The kids would stay with Greg that night and stay for his week, and then they would keep them for our week and their next week. So they'd have them for one of my custody weeks plus 1 extra evening. I don't have family around. My parents died young, grandparents before them, and the aunt and uncle who helped raise me retired to New Mexico, which is a 3-hour plane ride plus a 2-hour drive at minimum. I have friends who have watched the kids before, but I didn't see a single issue with asking Greg to keep them for a week since it seems like there's a bit of precedent. I texted him the general plan and emailed him a more detailed one with locations, days, times, etc., so he could know where we were and how to contact us if there was an issue. I thought all was well and good, but they never responded until a few days later. They emailed me what Luke and I jokingly now refer to as the manifesto. It was long, rambling, repetitive, and still somehow partially written by ChatGPT. The gist of it was, what kind of mother goes on a 3-week vacation without her kids? That I'm a terrible person in general for asking a young mother to have her stepkids full time for 3 weeks while I go and enjoy myself. Mind you, she kept calling Tessie a young mother. I think she means mother of young kids, and I know it's not the point, but it kept annoying me. Also, it wouldn't be alone with her. Greg would obviously be there. They said I'm a horrible co-parent for asking them to have the kids for 3 weeks straight while their kids are so young. Their newest baby will be 6 months old by then, by the way. Apparently, it's all well and fine that Luke and I don't want any more kids. He has had a vasectomy and known he didn't want kids of his own for a while. But we'd better not think that gives us permission to dump Louisa and Ted on them to gallivant around. I don't think I've ever gallivanted in my entire life. We needed to figure out our own weeks ourselves, they said. This was not life or death, and it was ridiculous to ask them. I got petty after this, especially them acting as if we were constantly dumping the kids on them. So I went through the last 4 years of texts and made a spreadsheet of how many times either of us has asked the other to keep the kids and the duration on an Excel sheet. While we both have made these requests, they have done so for 87 nights, 52 times, versus me, 12 nights, 8 times. Obviously, this makes sense since they have a baby, and I didn't send it to them or anything, but it was good to know that I'm not crazy. My friends say I should tell them that. Fine. I won't keep them during their custody time after their new baby comes. I'm not going to do that. I love my kids and I want to see them as much as I can, but I do a lot of extra stuff for them. Just some examples. I pick the kids up every single day after school, sometimes Luke if he's off work. And on Greg's custody weeks, I drop them off at their house since he doesn't get off until 5 so that Tessie doesn't have to take the baby out to pick them up. Keep in mind, she doesn't work anymore. Our divorce decree says that whoever's week it is must drop the kids off at the other parent's house. But I've been doing all the back and forth for a while again because they have a kid and because it's not that far. It's like a 5-minute drive, 20-minute walk if it's nice. I take the kids to all of their appointments. I do all of the school parent stuff during the day, etc. Since I have a super flexible schedule and Greg's isn't, he would need to use PTO for all of that stuff. We usually split health insurance per the divorce decree. They're on his work's insurance, but since I take them to all of their appointments, etc., I pay all the copays. I keep a tally just in case I would end up owing him money, and I know what he pays towards the premiums, and in the past it was minimal, but our daughter unfortunately has type 1 diabetes, which has gotten pretty expensive. It wasn't killing me, but Greg mentioned how tight money was once when I was bringing it up, and I decided that it's not affecting my life. Our daughter needed it, so I've been letting it go. Their son has been in the process of being diagnosed with autism and has pretty bad meltdowns. This is all I know from Greg. So they call me pretty frequently to see if I can come and get the kids for a few hours if things are overwhelming. Of course, I love my kids and spending time with them, but I've had to cancel my plans for this and they have not cared. Greg was in an accident and has been using my old car. I got a new one and hadn't sold the old one yet. It's not worth a ton or anything. For the past 7 months with no effort to replace it. Greg travels sometimes for work, and they have a cat over there. Normally, Louisa would take care of the litter box if Greg was traveling, but since her diagnosis and until we get her labs and health under some form of control, we both agreed that we don't want her messing with it. They let the cat go outside during the day. Since Tessie has been pregnant, she said she shouldn't have to, and Ted is a little young. He tried, failed, now he just helps, so I've been doing it. Anyways, these are all the benefits for them that I'm going to inform them are ending. I won't go back on my word to have the kiddos after she has her C-section. But the absolute gall of them to not do the one thing that I've asked of them and that I've done for them have brought me to this. Most of my friends say I'm not going far enough, but a few have said that I might cause a breakdown in our co-parenting relationship, which would affect the kids. That's really the only thing I care about, so now I'm hesitant. No, I would literally be sending that Excel sheet and then I would send like a very well worded email that isn't being like petty or passive aggressive, but is just like stating the things, which maybe that is just passive aggressive in general, stating all these things. But he needs to know. And the worst thing is like you think this is like the way that you think when you do things for people. And I'm like a people pleaser, so I'm always doing stuff for people, and like I'm never expecting things back because I think just I don't know what it is like about my brain, but I've always just believed that like I'm just can't ask people for favors. I'm like, I don't want to ask them for a favor because they probably don't want to do it, and I feel like I don't know. I just never ask people for favors ever, but everyone always asks me for favors, and a lot of the times I don't want to do it. But like honestly, it's my fault that I can't say no. You know, like that's not their fault. Yes, they are the ones asking, but I am always saying yes. So like why I need to just like get a grip and start saying no to things. And me and my friend were just talking about this today about how we just can never say no. Like the guy that I babysat for, I'm not even kidding you, 5 years ago, I babysat his kid for like a year. I nannied her, and I've told the story before about how he was like hitting on me and liking my Instagram pictures and like being kind of creepy towards me. And I feel like he wanted me while they were together. And it was like really off-putting. They're not together anymore though, the parents, but he messaged me on Instagram. He replied to one of my stories on Instagram saying, "Hey, just wondering if you're able to watch the dog this weekend from Thursday to Monday. I'm just reaching out to my people." I haven't talked to you. Like, yeah, maybe occasionally I'll respond to his Instagram stories when it's the girl that I babysat, because like she is so adorable and I love to keep up with her, and I'm like, oh my God, she's so cute. She's like, you know, stuff like that. And like occasionally he'll like one of my like selfies or something. It's honestly so strange, but I don't know. But yeah, like haven't fully spoken to him or seen him or babysat or watched their dog in 5 years. Like I used to when I nannied for them, I would watch their dogs occasionally. And he asked me that, and I'm literally trying to think of a way that I can watch their dog. I'm like, why are you thinking? I was like, oh, this is going to be miserable, but like, I can't say no. So let me just figure it out. How could I be able to watch this dog? Even though I knew, I was like, wait, why would you watch their dog? Why would you watch his dog? You haven't talked to him in years. You haven't babysat his kid in years. You haven't watched their dog in years. Like, why in the world would you be doing that? So yeah, I can't say no. It's so annoying. And I always see TikToks and it's like, no is a full sentence. Like you can just say no to things, but like I don't know why I always, and I'm sure this is very common, like I'm not the only one who feels this way, but I for some reason feel like I always have to have an excuse. Like I'm like, oh, I have to have an excuse so that they don't think that like I hate them, because like honestly, to be honest, if someone asked me, or if I asked someone something and they just responded no with no explanation, I would probably think they hated me. So that's probably why I'm that way. But I don't know. I just like really hate that I'm like that. And I really wish that I could just say no and not feel bad. But like, unfortunately, it's just not me. It's just not me. But anyways, we are going to read the update. This is 3 days later. Hey everyone, I don't know how to link on mobile, so my last post is on my profile. One thing I didn't mention in my last post is that Greg and I have a long history. I've known him forever since we moved to his mom's neighborhood when I was 4. We were always friendly, and then we started hooking up when I was in college and got pregnant. In his defense, he 100% stood up, married me, took care of us, paid for everything while I finished school, and even paid for my college. But even before all of that, he's always been a great guy and my friend. I know it seems like I was being taken advantage of, but of course, over the years, people probably thought I was taking advantage of him before I started making the big bucks. It was me who filed for divorce. He said he could probably go to therapy and find a way to make it work, but I knew I couldn't ask him to do that. And he has reciprocated in other ways. After we divorced, he definitely helped me a lot in setting up my new home before Luke and I got together. doing things like mowing, cleaning the gutters, fixing appliances. Obviously, those things don't happen anymore, but I'm just saying it hasn't always been me doing everything. Finally, all of this has not been thankless. Up until the manifesto, they were incredibly and vocally grateful and appreciative. Doing things for appreciative people is great and makes me feel good. Unfortunately, now that we are living in the post-manifesto area, I don't get any joy from helping them out like I used to. With all of that being said, I can't continue bending over backwards for him just because he was good to me before. Anyways, I got pretty mad at myself at my last post and decided to respond to the manifesto. As I was hyping myself up, though, Greg called. I was pretty amped, so I decided to answer. He started with apologizing. He didn't say it directly, but I got the gist that Tessie wrote the email in anger because of how overwhelming everything is. He reminded me that it wasn't just his son's issues. Louisa was also struggling to get her diabetes under control. Any other type 1 parents can probably relate. And she misread my email to think that I was asking for them to keep them for 3 of my custody periods for a total of 6 weeks. Going back to the manifesto, I can kind of see where she was saying that, but it wasn't the most coherent thing to begin with. He said 1 week for our honeymoon is totally fine, and they'll figure it out. We acknowledged that it was entirely inappropriate and uncalled for. Unluckily for him, I was not in the best mood and told him damn straight it was one of the most deranged and untrue emails I've ever read. I asked him if anything they wrote in the email rang true to him in the cold light of day, and he admitted no. I had kind of been going back and forth on this and was originally going to tell them to go to hell and we would never switch custody times again. I didn't care if they had 5 more kids with C-sections, but I decided against going that far. I told him that I would get the kids when Tessie had her C-section, keep them through my custody, and would expect them to have them back during his custody period, which still gave them 10 days to recover, etc. If he needed more help, I expected him to figure out any child care for our kids like he will need to do with his other son. He started arguing, but I just bulldozed through and told him that he could make this and all of the other times I've helped him out with childcare by watching the kids during my week, during my honeymoon. He said that sounded fair and thanked me. But I told him that the email was so far out of line that any and all extras I've been doing were over immediately. He could either find a new carpool, no bus, private school, or I would keep picking the kids up from school, but he or Tessie could get them from my home during their weeks. If they are unable to care for the children due to their son's meltdowns or their new baby, I would be willing to help them, but warned them that due to their accusations, I would start tracking this, and if I thought it was becoming an issue, I would file for primary custody. I asked him if that would help. He could have the kids every other weekend. I wouldn't demand child support in light of his very difficult situation, even though I know I could, and he insisted that wasn't necessary, that it was on them to figure things out. He really didn't have a lot to say back to any of this and apologized again. I told him that it wasn't impossible to rebuild the trust we have had in the past, but it was going to take a lot of time and hard work on his and his wife's part because I was done putting in so much just to get attacked. He promised he understood and he'd figure everything else out. I told him that since this was another verbal, aka not legally binding agreement, the first time either of them slips up, makes outrageous demands, or says anything remotely close to what she wrote in that email, I would bring down the hammer, because due to the attacks on my character, I now had a lawyer on retainer. Hadn't met with the lawyer yet, but sometimes you just need to bluff. He confirmed he understood. Tessie sent me a text apology. It seemed sincere, but I don't trust her. I know Greg wouldn't throw her under the bus. But the fact that she thought it was okay to send such a demanding and demonizing email to me after all I've done for her really ruined any grace I was willing to give her. I sent her a short acknowledgement text and went on with my day. Both of their lives are about to get much, much more difficult. If they try to put any of that discomfort or difficulties on my kids, I will move swiftly. But also, if it means that my kids get a little less at their dad's house than they do here, that's not the worst lesson for them. Their needs will always be met. I know that. And they've been in therapy for a while. So while I'm concerned that Tessie could take her frustrations out on them, I truly think they would tell me. I read so many other stories on here and realized that 2 things. So the thing with the car, it's meant for my friend's stepdaughter for when she gets her permit. She is 15 and we all love her so much, but she has that disease that 15-year-olds get where she really doesn't have any motivation whatsoever. So I was talking about all this to said friend. She told her husband, and he marched upstairs and told his daughter to get dressed so she could go and take her permit test. She failed, but is going to try again next week, and he's purchasing the car next week. Greg knows he has until then to acquire a new one. And the cat isn't Tessie's cat. It was Greg's guilty divorced dad first Christmas gift. LOL. I really like the cat. She's very sweet and snuggly, and I haven't minded helping, especially since Louisa does feel bad she doesn't do it anymore. Honestly, if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have agreed to help. Luckily, the induction is soon, and Greg won't be traveling for a while, so it's a moot point. Obviously, if they were to decide to get pregnant again, they would need to hire someone to do the litter box going forward. I've probably only done it 3 times, but I see that was crossing some boundaries I should have put up. I'm going to keep enjoying the life that I've worked hard to build. I know they'll always be around in my life, and it's unfortunate for them that the choices they made got them in this situation. But they're going to have to rebuild their village. I'm excited for the wedding and especially excited to go to Japan. Those things and, of course, my kiddos are my focus going forward. Oh, sorry, that was a lot. But, I'm really glad that they got everything sorted. There was a lot of detail. I always think, some of this stuff is, I don't really need to know that. But, you know what? Obviously, this is Reddit, and she's just, venting and stuff, so it's fine. Oh, wait. She posted something one day later. Literally the next day, and said, so my ex and I had some recent issues, to say the least, and I'm completely pulling back any favors that I used to do. It's deserved on his wife's ends, but it's going to hurt them. Oh. Never mind. That's just reiterating everything. I thought that was her saying, actually, just kidding. He is doing this again, so we're not doing this for her or something. The top comment says, so this is what happens when you send the email or letter you wrote while venting your anger. Who could have guessed? Oh my God. I've had to learn to actually chill and just stop sending stuff over the years. I've really had to hone myself in and just be why are you responding when you're pissed off? If you just calm down for 10 minutes, because I'll get pissed sometimes, but it's not that I'm I don't hold on to that unless, depending on what it is, I don't hold on to that for that long. It doesn't take me so long. So I'll be just give it 10 minutes. You'll be grounded and understand that where that's coming from or why someone said something to you or whatever, whatever it was. I don't even know an example, but just even just for example, maybe a mean comment that I get. Sometimes I just want to respond so badly and be you're literally so, I cannot stand you. I just want to go off on them because sometimes people be commenting some mean shit and I'm oh my God, I actually cannot believe that you took the time out of your day to say. Sometimes I sound like the Grudge when I do that, but yeah, sometimes I'm holy shit, you're actually a terrible person, and I can't even imagine me, I can't imagine hating someone so much that I would comment something so terrible, and it's just crazy. So sometimes, yeah, I'm oh, I really want to comment and just stoop back to their level, but I just end up being block. I'll respond to the comment and then I'll block the person so they won't, I'm pretty sure it deletes my comment and blocks the person as well. So I got it out, but they didn't see it, so then it feels like I got it out, but I really didn't. But it's really crazy, and people are crazy, and it's something that everyone has to deal with. But yeah, some days are just a little bit more overwhelming with that kind of stuff, and I definitely get a lot more love, and I think most of everyone can say that, honestly. The love is definitely 90%, but then that 10% is just ew, you're disgusting and scary for saying that. And I'm trying to think of the comment I got the other day, which obviously she's blocked now, and hopefully she doesn't make another channel, but if she does, like, I'll just block her, because if she comments something rude like that again, I literally just block every person that is mean. Oh, what did she say? Oh, she was like, you're boring, period. And then she said, and all you do is brag about your experiences with men. And then in parentheses, which is honestly hard to believe because you're average looking. And then went on to say something else. I can't remember what she said after that. But the way that I actually was like, okay, I didn't even want to respond to that, because that's like an actual insane comment. And I was like, whoa, that girl must like hate herself and hate her life to be commenting that on someone that she doesn't even know. And it's like, oh, am I boring? Oh, okay. I would love to see you upload a YouTube video. I would love to hear you talk, ma'am. And like, that is so rude to say. That's hard to believe. Oh, yeah, because I'm making up, and I don't feel like I brag about experiences with men. Like, what? I'm like, have you never like had an experience with a man and you're jealous or something? Because that's insane. You must really be honing in on that, because I don't feel like like maybe I bring up the same situation 100 times over, because how am I bragging? I'm not like, yeah, I slept with 200 guys and they were all sexy, like Austin Butler and Jacob Elordi. Like, what? That's bragging to me. Talking about my experiences is not bragging, in my opinion. I'm like just saying what my life has been like with certain people. So I was like, okay, girl. Don't show the jealousness too much. I promise you, it's really not that big of a deal. And then to say someone's average looking as well, like, okay, first of all, I literally don't ever get ready. Well, sometimes. I did have a little stint of getting ready for these videos, but lately I've just been like not getting ready at all. I'm just literally not doing my hair, not doing my makeup. I'm like, so sure, maybe I do look a little average. But guess what? I would love to see a picture of you and what you look like, because I'm sure you're less than average. So, bye, queen. But anyways, I don't really give a damn. Honestly, though, that comment just made me feel bad for her. I'm like, wow, you probably look really scary and hate your life, which I feel bad for you. I gotta go. I actually have to go film for the Patreon, and we're doing Am I Overreacting stories today on the Patreon. And I also made another tier for the Patreon, so I have a $2.50 one that gets one video a month, and then a $5 one that gets 2 extra videos a month, and then a $10 one that gets 4 extra videos a month. So no pressure, obviously. Do not spend money that you don't have if you don't have extra money, and do not ever feel pressured. I feel like I put out enough content on here for free that like you can watch, and you really don't have to feel pressured to, which I'm sure none of you feel pressured, but like I just feel bad sometimes. But yeah, so extra content's on Patreon. We're doing a little, what did I say? Am I overreacting? Yeah. So yeah, I love you guys so much, and I really just am so thankful for you guys. Thanks for tuning in, as always, again and again, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye.
Storytime Society is now available on all listening platforms. If you are on any of those listening platforms, I would really appreciate it if you rated me 5 stars. Thanks for all the support.
Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.